Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Winner Circle. I am here with LD Salmanson from Cherre, and they are a multi-award winner from the Business Intelligence Group. They started out connecting multiple sources of data kind of in the real estate industry, and that kind of took off. And with AI, they're adapting with that, and we're here to talk with LD about that. So LD, give us the elevator pitch on Cherre and the elevator pitch on you.
Thanks, Russ, for having me. It's great to be here. Cherre is a data management analytics platform. We help our clients, largest asset managers, banks, insurance companies in the world, connect their internal financial operational data to third-party market data to a single source of truth in a repeatable, reliable, consistent manner, and then deliver that data downstream, either back in the same place it came from, into more broad cloud environments, or more commonly today, into advanced AI solutions. That's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, and it's really cool because you guys connect all the data together, and that's really important for obviously all your customers, and that's why they hire you. But you've got the service platform and the infrastructure as well, which is kind of that plug and play operation, which I'm sure your customers love, right? I don't have to build anything, so like you guys just take it all. And I was reading one of your case studies. And it was really impressive that what you're really doing is taking the data that normally humans would have to go out and search for and look at 29 different systems or 1,000 different systems or 1,000,000 different systems and bring that all right to the person. And so like customer service, sales, anything really at your fingertip, you've now have this like, kind of company proprietary data source that's really just, super empowering. No more looking up 9 million systems, right? Did I get it kind of accurate?
Yeah, sure thing. I think all of our clients have three layers of problems. I think the very bottom, I just need access to the information that I have. And that could be information that I own. It's in my systems, but I need a good way to get it out of those systems. It could be data I own, but I don't have direct access to it because it's sitting in someone else's systems. Or it can be data that I buy or collect from various vendors or directly. So the first problem I have is I need access to the information that's within the realm of places that I might want to get access to. Then the second challenge I have is now that I have all this data in one place, I need it to speak to each other, right? So something might have an address, another place might be defined as a parcel ID, another place has an address, but it's not the same as the other address that I have, even though it's the same thing for whatever reason. So the second challenge I have is bringing this data to speak to each other. It's a data model. It's a semantic model, meaning that we're speaking the same language or languages. And finally, that we're doing entity resolution. These things connect to each other. And I think the third challenge I have as a investor or operator or anything in between is now that I have all this data connected to each other, I need it to be some kind of business product that I can do something with. It means it needs to translate into an insight that either it's a decision support system, meaning it's telling me based on everything that we know, based on all the assumptions that we're making, here's some guardrails around this decision you're about to make. Is it within the likely range of outcomes, or is it really outside of them, or something along those lines? Or if it's a less, probabilistic type process, but something a little more deterministic, I want some type of workflow around it where it might have a point in time where it says right here I have to apply judgment, but up until that point it made sense, and after that point it made sense. So let's just put some type of AI agent at that little point where I have to make a human judgment instead of the entire process. So at the end of the day, typically our clients are either trying to cut down the time and cost to make decisions such that I have more data, better data, higher quality data at that same environment, or I'm trying to make some type of decision that has to do with understanding a market, a portfolio, or an asset from all my connected data in some kind of more meaningful, insightful manner.
Yeah, and I think doing that and finding those data sources and bringing it all to the human is really amazing. And I imagine your customers were thrilled with that. That's why they hired you. But now, as we're talking about this, right now, you've got this process, you've got the framework, you've got all the steps to go do this, data lookup, whatever you're doing, this analysis. And now you can really kind of turn it on steroids at the flip of a switch with AI agents, I would imagine. And now you've got almost an unlimited workforce to go do that work.
Yeah, not unlimited. It costs money, but fairly scalable. Yeah. Um, our clients are very creative. So I think the first step we did with them, historically was help them get all the data out of those various sources we talked about, and then putting them that data in a reliable manner in all the places where the client will then have access to. And that mostly looked like reporting. So some type of dashboard type product where I can look at things that happened statically in the past or what's happening right now when I look at it. and some kind of questioning where I can also apply, pre-canned questions around, what would it look like if X or Y happened to, for my existing portfolio. So that's one way I interact with data. The other way I might have interacted with data besides reports or things the same way is as a data product, meaning data scientists would, get access to this connected data and build some type of product on top of that in their own environment. And what we've enabled with the Agent Studio is allowing business users to be able to interact with that data in a way that goes well beyond what we could have done with a dashboard or reporting object, and maybe over almost goes as far as what I could have done with a data product as well. Meaning, I can ask a question for the first time. What's the performance of my multifamily assets in Dallas versus the market in the last 3 years? And it can say, well, I know what you mean by Dallas. I know there are a million definitions of Dallas, but I know your specific definition of Dallas. And I know how you've defined multifamily, what the threshold is for you to call multifamily versus mixed use. And I understand that you mean that you want to roll up all the JVs as well as ownership if they're above a 50% threshold. And when you say versus benchmark, you mean the Green Street multifamily benchmark or an Odyssey fund benchmark or something like that. And I can provide that question to you because I understand you and your semantic model as a client. I understand the data feeds that you specifically connect into that. And I'm not making you go and write some really advanced, programming type question in SQL or Python or some other language that requires a lot of thought. I'm allowing you to answer or ask that question in a natural language and receive the answer in a natural language, maybe some charts and graphs that are made on the fly for you. That's a very powerful capability because it moves the value chain into the business user, which really is the person we always care about, right? When we think about who we serve as a company, we ultimately serve the business user. And the technical client stands in between us and the business user because they can translate that. But the better we do at enabling that tool to converse with the business user, the better we do for that user as well. They don't have to go through a translator along the way. So it's unlocked some really cool opportunities for us, and it's also driving a lot of change within the business user environment.
And now you guys you talked about a little bit about this AI agent kind of ecosystem that you're building. Give us kind of the elevator pitch on that just real quick, because I think I get it. You're really kind of building a marketplace, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So um, think of it as three layers. At the very raw layer, I can just go in and build anything I want. That's actually the most advanced layer, but it's the most simple one to understand. Meaning, I want an agent to do these 15 things. I can start from scratch and say I wanted to, figure out how to go to Salesforce, and there's a connector to Salesforce, and then I wanted to go into Cherre and pull my latest actuals and my latest budget from already connected with Cherre, and I wanted to do these 5 different things. I can build that from scratch and have it do something custom. And our platform has a base fee, and then you pay for the credits obviously as you use them. We also want to make it a little easier for our clients to say, well, here's a universe of all of these agents are just available off the shelf that we think you might want because other folks like you want them. And we can give you a sense of kind of what they might cost to run. Again, you're paying for the cost at the credit side, but we can give you a sense of what they look like. And it really outperforms what a human would do, both in time and money, and gives you a lot of skill there. And also, besides that network of agents, here's another kind of next step is, the workflows that can sit on top of that, right? Some work packages where we can say, this requires agents 1, 2, and 3, and maybe agent number 6 to create a chain of events that might deliver what you need. And you're buying more than one agent. You're buying a capability at the end that does the thing that you want to do. So, for example, maybe I want to do variance analysis, my budget versus actual. So, I have one agent that knows how to go and retrieve the actuals. I have another agent that knows how to go and retrieve the budgets. I have another agent that knows how to compare them to each other. I have another agent that goes back to the source operating company and says, hey, why is this different? I have another agent that tries to fill in narrative in all the different situations versus the market. And then there's an agent at the end that prepares this whole thing and creates kind of the work product that we're thinking about, the work package of a variance analysis. So each one of those steps is its own agent that you can buy separately for other use cases, but you can also buy them as a package. So we really want to give our clients the ability to, you want to just hit the ground running with an outcome. We'll just give you the agents and customize them and give you the service to get those up and running because you're probably going to need it from us. You kind of know what you're doing. You just want to buy some of the agents off the shelf and know that they work, and you kind of change them together for your own use cases. Great. You want to start absolutely from scratch and something new? We can do that as well. And we provide the service also to be able to help you along the way to get there. In the future, we'll also let other people build agents to be able to deploy on our platform, and we're not there just yet.
Yeah, well, I love the modularity of it, right? Is of kind of buy what you need and what you can kind of consume, right? Because I think half the problem I have with AI now is that you can do so much, but you as a human still only have 40 hours in a day to process it, or 40 hours in a week to process it, or how many ever you do, right?
I hope we
That's
have a
the
little more
limitation.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the limitation, though, is your own kind of capacity, I think. So you get down rat holes real quick with I could, I would, I should. But I like the way you guys are making it very modular. I had a similar idea a while back of doing this. We had a hardware platform that was open, kind of open, and we had all sorts of different companies kind of writing code for the platform to do different things. And we always thought it would be, an amazing asset to have that as a shared resource, right? If you're going to write code for this thing, that does something, put it in a GitHub or something so that everybody can access it. And I think, as you go along, it's really going to be interesting to see because you could start to build bundles, right? And start to build little packages of, these are the top leading, kind of triggers or agents that you guys have.
Absolutely. And we also hope that there'll be a reciprocal kind of process there where if I start building an agent, well, I'll need a connector within Cherre to access my data from, let's say, an ERP. And then now that I'm connecting that, I want to benchmark. So I want to buy one of the data vendors and I want to connect one of those. So I'm hoping we create a good flywheel effect where when you buy a data vendor, here are some other agents that are now possible as a result of that data set being available, and vice versa. Now that you've acquired a certain agent, here are certain data vendors that might make that agent more effective if that's the case, right? So I want to create that flywheel.
Yeah, well, so give us a sense too. I know you've got a million of these customer stories. I can only tell you my own, which is, I get these tools now, and it used to be, how can I develop a dashboard and what does that chart look like and show me the graph, right? And that was so give me all the bits I need to make a judgment about whatever I'm analyzing. And you spent so much time just doing that you ended up, going down different paths and trying to figure things out. And you never kind of get to the end result that you're looking for. At least that's the problem I had. Now, like you're saying, we're really moving away from the dashboards. It's here's how I'm doing. What's my KGAR for the last 5 years? Where am I failing? Where am I not meeting expectations? You're asking all those strategy questions now that aren't, kind of transactional. How am I doing? What was my net for last month? It's, how did it compare to the month before that? And how does that compare to a year ago and 5 years ago? And who's buying more or buying less? So you immediately can get granular kind of with the, like you were talking about, that real world kind of dialogue. Is that what your customers are seeing? Are you finding those applications inside of their businesses?
You're still using dashboards and charts because that's what we're used to using, and this whole notion of conversational type um, data driven retrieval of information is still new in many ways. So I wouldn't say that that's the standard for our clients yet. But it is becoming the standard of them expecting that. So I think that we're very quickly moving into a world where our clients expect to ask a question, get the answer, and see some charts that were, artifacts that were created typically on the fly as part of that generation, or, response generation that I can see that may have not been part of my standard dashboard. Or even if it was, maybe I didn't click on the specific permutation to get to that specific view of that dashboard. I think what we're seeing a lot more of actually is agents and workflows. So I'll give you very simple examples where, as part of our process when we, ingest files that are not, maybe I own the asset, but I don't manage it. So maybe I'm going to get a monthly trial balance or a lease roll. Now the trial balance and lease roll can come in, an Excel format, and it's really easy to process it. It might come in a PDF, and, turning that PDF into an Excel for a trial balance and lease roll, not so complicated. Accuracy is very, very high. You might want to put a human in the loop to review that or not, depending on who the client is and what the default rate tolerance is, right? Maybe a bank will tell you have a zero fault tolerance and you want to put a human in the loop. Maybe somebody else has a very high one, right? So it's just a threshold question. But some documents are a lot more complicated. Let's say an appraisal, where the appraisal will get there, 99% accurate, and somebody will have an error on an image with some text on it, where the LLM usually has some issues, right? Um, and I want that to work, right? I want in a Cherre environment, I'm going to be submitting thousands of documents, let's say as a bank. This is common for, let's say, bank and lending clients. And I don't know what their client's gonna end up sending. It might be a PDF, it might be an Excel, and I don't care how it's submitted. But when it's submitted, I want to make sure that, however they submit it, you can see it at the end in the environment. So we have agents that classify the type of that image at the source, or PDF, right, or document at the
Hmm.
source. We have other agents that convert that to text. We have other agents to take the context and understand that type of document and do all the different types of checks just to see if the OCR makes sense, if there weren't things that were glaring. Then another agent that will go over that and check all the key metrics and, like, hey, does the NOI calculation make sense given these numbers here? Meaning it's taking different types of semantic answers and saying, spot check. Does this line up? No, there's some weird issues here. Maybe go back to the beginning, make sure we pulled the information right. It's not a mistake in the document. Only then will it then say, let's look at the entire document and give a score of how accurate this is versus the source. Then a human, you might say, I only want to see the ones below a certain threshold. Maybe I want to see all of them because the bank might require all of them to be reviewed or something like that. Maybe you charge for that service. Um, but there you have an agent that's very, very valuable because the agent took a process that otherwise would have required a human and completely removed them from that process within a bank. So the banks that we work with today don't have humans reviewing documents at all.
Right.
Everything's done automatic, right? I should be able to have the entire underwriting process of a commercial loan be as fast as you can send that clipboard to the house. If you can send it the same day, that loan should be underwritten the same day. For our clients, that means bringing it down from average of about 5 months to about 5 days, which is super impactful. But I can't replace the time that it takes to send clipboard to the house, and that's about 5 days. So that's why we're limited there.
Maybe we'll pull the drones in, you know. We'll an army of Cherry drones. They'll be.
I think that will have to
Yeah.
leave for somebody else to do. Yeah.
Well, they're doing that. Lots of folks are doing that, especially with medicine these days in remote areas,
No,
which
for
is pretty
sure.
amazing.
There are a lot of companies that do site inspection with drones on
Yeah,
demand. There are
yeah.
balloon
I
companies as well. Yeah.
surveys everything. It's amazing that whole space too. So you're plugged into this very sensitive financial network, right, of real estate transactions and insurance and everything else. When you're talking to leaders about their own governance in AI and their workflows in AI, how do you talk to them about how they should build that trust? Because I think that what you just talked through was kind of that. You talked through how the human would have done it too, right? I would have run the numbers. I would have maybe had somebody check the numbers, and I would have somebody analyze the numbers. And so we would have done that with three different people, maybe the same person. A lot of times, three different people. And so now you're turning that trust over to AI. So how are you, convincing? How are you talking your customer leaders through this kind of transition?
First of all, the assumption that we should trust the human model is
I
scary.
know, right?
Um, Human's just another model.
I went through Six Sigma, training, and it's a lot of times it's people. It's not
I'm
always, but
very few.
sometimes it's people.
I think humans are very good for some processes. We're very bad for others. We're just another model. And I think humans begin where synthetic models end. That's how we should always think about it. So if I have a synthetic model that for which the human overperforms or outperforms, the human should outperform that synthetic model. For the cases where it's the opposite, the synthetic model should outperform. And there's also a cost question, obviously. And the way we encourage our clients to think about the problem is take every single process within your organization and break it down to the most, atomized kind of roles and atomized sub processes. So person A does action B and then hands that work product off to person C. Great, let's document what happens in each one of A, B, and C, what their responsibilities are, what they're measured on. So A is measured on throughput and accuracy of what they pass on. Excellent. What is B measured on? Only this thing. It literally passes on. And so long as it passed on as expected, it did its job right. Great. So now I know every single process and what it's measured on. Now all I have to ask is which of these processes are candidates to be automated, meaning which of these things are completely deterministic. If it's completely deterministic, no judgment applied, just automated today. Perfect. And then in those moments where there's judgment required, now let's ask ourselves, is that a huge piece of judgment for the entire operation or a small point of judgment in a longer process? Small points of judgment, not a lot of judgment required as part of a larger process, high candidates or very good candidates for automation, right? Because I'm only answering for in this case, is this document of the type of a loan document? Yes, great. Human in the loop just said yes, process continues. So that was the classifier that I need to check if these two numbers are the same. And if they're not the same, I need to ask a questions. Right? Some questions of certain people. That's doable. Given everything I know, is this a good investment? That's a tougher question because you're asking something that has multiple different points of judgment, multiple different points of contention around different assumptions, and therefore it's a much harder question to answer. But I might be able to answer more easily. What's the likelihood of this being 1,000? You might say, well, that's really out of range. What's the likelihood of it being between 20 and 80? Oh, that's very, very high. That's a very, very big range potentially. Okay, these are better types of questions that I can ask a judgment point. So I think our job as stewards here is to help our clients understand, hey, let's break down these processes into very atomized ones. Let's understand which parts of these processes can be completely automated today because they're deterministic and which require judgment or probabilistic. And of those that are probabilistic and require judgment, which ones have models today for which that judgment is good enough and can be replaced maybe with some human in the loop. Because then all I'm doing is, over time, increasing those places where I'm applying automated judgment as the models get better, or where I've already applied it, maybe they're just getting more accurate. They're costing less as token cost comes down. Or if there is a human in the loop, that human in the loop either goes away or the cost to operate them goes down. So that's how we're thinking about guiding our clients today.
Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody's got to get used to, right? I mean, we're not headed back. We can't undo this thing. Are you watching Pluribus, the show Pluribus by Vince Gilligan? So he did Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, and so he's a great storyteller. But the concept is that humanity's taken over by the alien virus. I won't go into too much, and they want to go back. And so you can't roll this AI thing back. It's here, and I think when you think about agents, at least when I think about agents, is there's a lot of stuff that I do as a human that to analyze something. The agents can do that, right? They can compare it and, like you were saying, judge it. What they don't have is the experience yet to our own human experiences. They have certainly the experience of the world in historical models and everything else, but they don't have your personal bias or personal experience to kind of give you that gut reaction. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad.
There's a great quote by James Whitaker, one of my more one of the more fun speakers to listen to. He's worked at Amazon, Microsoft, Google on some of the bigger products they own, and he says famously, "AI will never be dumber than it is today." I think it's a great
Right.
it's a great way to think about the world. This is as dumb as it's going to get, and it's going to get a lot smarter, much faster. And that's encouraging. It's not scary.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because I would explain AI to people, probably as early as last year and maybe 12 months ago, and you would explain it kind of like, well, it's kind of like a fourth grader. If you give it something, it'll do it, but it'll come back with some errors, and you can kind of tell it to get better, and it'll get better. Um, and then maybe 6 months ago, it definitely jumped up to post college graduate kind of level of just right out of the box. You're
Still
asking
an
it a question.
intern. Still have to.
Or college intern level. And so if we're accelerating that fast in a year, in another year, it's just going to be incredible. And, you
Yeah.
guys have done this in the real estate industry. We have employee satisfaction data out of our best places to work, and we never knew what to do with it. You could put it into a spreadsheet and you could pivot table the heck out of it, right? Because we had all this demographic data. Well, now you literally put that CSV into a ChatGPT window, and now you have McKinsey, analysis,
Yep.
or TCS analysis of your employee base, and
Yeah.
it's literally that quick. Last year we couldn't do it. This year you're at a high level consultancy telling your CEO what's wrong with the company or what's wrong with your
I think it's
employee morale.
happening really fast. I think. Uh,
It's incredible,
yeah.
and
If you
you
think about
guys are right at the front of it.
good timing. I think if you think about the industrial revolution, it decoupled a unit of physical work with a unit of physical human, right? Whatever that ratio was per human, whether it was skill or physical capability, depending on what they were able to do. And it revolutionized the way we think about everything, right? All of a sudden, the concept of work product, no longer tethered to human, changed humanity completely. And I think the internet, to the extent that that's a one thing, changed the way we collect and retrieve data, meaning it removed the need to of a human work unit to either remember that information or go look up that information manually. Meaning, if you ask me a question which required, I either had to know the answer or I had to go research that in physical places. And what the internet allowed me to do is put all that information at my fingertips and everything was immediately accessible. And now what was left for me to do is reason, right? I had to decide which of this information is less or more interesting for the purpose of the question I'm answering. I had to distill that information. I had to put that into some type of context, call a work product or some type of answer, or some type of thing that matters to a business user. What we're seeing today is a very fast decoupling of that last mile of reasoning, right? Where now that all the information is at your disposal, and we've long passed the point where a single person could do many things. Now we're at the point where, given all that information, give me the reasoning, and now the human's role becomes one more, one more step abstract or distant from that, which is what do I want to reason and why? Or what happens when I have multiple answers for the same or different reasons, quote unquote, for the same data? How do I decide? How do I arbitrate? We use the term here epistemic arbitration because the notion of truth is also fluid to these systems, right? Fluid because we define truths as different things. I might say my truth is a semantic model, and you might say yours is true, and they're both true for those contexts. But now I have to decide which is true for some purpose that I'm deciding. The human would have to review that and make a decision. Um, I think that that's the next question, like what's interesting to explore, and then letting the models go explore that. So I think we're well on that journey. Um, to your point, we've gone from, you know, stupid to kindergarten to, college intern and then some, to doctor potentially and being able to, when it comes to diagnostics, at least very,
Yeah.
very quickly. So I think that the next step is what are those things that are left for humans to do? Where the model's really, really weak or bad, or create outcomes that we don't predict, and humans will have roles of filling in those gaps, I think.
Yeah. Well, LD, this has really been a fascinating conversation. I can't wait for more AI agents. I'm excited about
Me
it.
too. Me too.
I really love the marketplace idea. We talked about it, but that kind of shared model just makes sense because it's the GitHub of data, right? That's what you want is,
Absolutely.
not to keep repeating the wheel. And the AIs don't want to repeat the wheel either. It's more compute power, right? So, yeah. Really great conversation. Congratulations on all the success and all the wins, and we look forward to hearing a lot more from you guys in the upcoming years.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it.
Thanks.